I just finished watching the 2025 brand new movie Lilo and Stitch, and I gotta say, as somebody who hated the cartoon growing up, I loved this movie. I thought it was great. Today, we're going to be breaking down every little bit about the plot, talking about things I liked. If there's anything that I didn't like, we're going to be giving you a complete spoiler review today. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. So I want to touch on Lilo and Stitch in general before we actually dive into the first part of the plot, okay? Because when I was a kid, I watched Lilo and Stitch, and I hated it, and I never watched it again. It's not like I watched it when I was like an infant or anything, and like I'm judging my opinion off of that. I didn't remember much of the movie, so I didn't recognize any of the changes. Well, the couple like big ones, right? But I hated the movie as a kid, never watched it again, so it's kind of like watching this for the first time because it's been so many years since I watched Lilo and Stitch, and I don't know why, I just enjoyed it a lot more. It's kind of make me think like, okay, would I enjoy the cartoon again? I don't know, but I was very pleasantly surprised about this movie. And something that I've been worried about with Disney, and something that a lot of people have been complaining about Disney recently, is them including their political messages within the movie, prioritizing that. I did recognize what they were trying to do. I did recognize the little changes they did. I did recognize, the underlying things that Disney was trying to tell its audience. But at the same time, I still loved the movie, okay? And I've been somebody who complained about that too, where it's like, it was clear that they made this movie with this objective and they took over the entire movie. Their messaging didn't get in the way, so we can point this kind of like over to what they did with Elemental, where they tried to make a movie good and then afterwards inserted their message. So whether or not you think that's okay, whatever, like people will include their messages into movies, okay? I recognized them. I understood them. I just still enjoyed the movie regardless, okay? So those I'm not going to really dive into. It's a topic of conversation for another time. So diving into the actual movie, we see the big alien spaceship, and the creatures look cool. Stitch looks cool. We're introduced to Stitch, this super intelligent, nearly destructible, like monster creation experiment 626. Yeah, that's what it was. 626. And he ended up escaping. The person that created him was on trial for something, or genetic experimentation, whatever it was, right? We see a really cool scene with Stitch escaping the spaceship, having some fun, landing on Earth. And I enjoyed watching Stitch in general, like when he's in space, like trying to get the button to stop pressing, and then he's like smashing a little bit more. Stitch obviously was the shining point in the movie. I enjoyed it. He crash landed, had fun at a wedding, got ran over by a car, was mistaken for a dog, and taken to an animal shelter. But after that, we cut from Stitch and we're introduced to Lilo and Nani. And I gotta say, man, I liked them both. I wasn't sure how the little girls, because the girl who played Lilo, and I know that she's supposed to be young, she looked like really young. And I was like, is she gonna be able to like be a good actor? But she was. I enjoyed her performance. I thought the sister was great too. Both of them did a good job. We're brought to Lilo. I don't know if she gets suspended for school, or it must have been suspended, right? Regardless, she got kicked out of hula school, or school in general, whatever, because she did the great move in pushing her bully down. I enjoyed that. That was funny. And she started fighting with Nani. Them screaming at each other, them fighting was very funny. I laughed at all of that. The social worker comes in and says, "Hey, you need to get things going over here. Otherwise, we're gonna take Lilo away from you." So Lilo not taking it seriously. Lilo still running away, screaming, jumping out the window. That whole thing with the social worker, by the way, was hilarious. Yeah, I learned how to jump out of windows. I eat 15 times a day. I liked all of that. And this movie was just lighthearted. And I was actually talking to my cousin about this too. And he's like, he had a little bit of problem with it because he's like, who's really the villain in this movie? And I'm like, I guess there wasn't really one, but I still enjoyed it. I liked it. It was calm, lighthearted. Stitch made me laugh. Lilo made me laugh. Nani made me laugh. I liked it. But for the next part of the movie, I don't really know like what there really is to say, because Lilo ends up adopting Stitch. And I didn't remember this about the first movie. I don't remember Stitch only going with Lilo because he needed to hide. I thought that was a very nice touch. And again, it's just slipping my mind because it's been so many years since I watched the movie. But he ended up loving her. I didn't remember that piece for some reason. The aliens that came down were hilarious in their own. Learning how to talk, learning what they do, and them like, and I don't know how to describe, I don't know the guy's name. The guy that was just sitting down was like, we're not supposed to show humans any portals. They don't know what that is yet. That guy that kept seeing stuff, that was really funny too. But them just going to the hotel, them looking for Stitch, they had great chemistry. That was all fantastic. But other than that, I don't really know what what there is to talk about, because it's a big chunk of the movie where Lilo and Stitch start just causing chaos, knocking things over, getting Nani fired from her job, and then her trying to like drag them around too, but they're still causing chaos. I don't know what to say besides it was just funny. And I wish that I could break that down more for you, but I can't really. Eventually, Nani ends up getting a job as a surfing instructor. They hyped her up to be like the best surfer of all time. Lilo and Stitch were still causing chaos, but they were having a little bit of fun. Everything ended up being okay, but the two aliens joined in, and Lilo ended up almost drowning. So it was decided that Lilo was going to get taken away from Nani. They had a really nice moment, and I actually like that too. And again, it's a little bit difficult for me to enjoy little pieces of the movie, you know, when they're having the heart-to-heart and you know what Disney's getting at. And I promise you guys, I don't mean to sit here and be one of those guys where it's like, yeah, I understood the deeper messaging, but that would fly over a lot of people's heads, okay? It sounds so arrogant, it sounds so smug, and I don't mean to come off that way, but sometimes when I see those things, it takes me out of the moment a little bit, and I wish that it could have just been like a nice conversation between Nani and Lilo without like, okay, I see what you're doing, Disney, you know? And it's important to note, I ask that you don't make any assumptions about me in the comment section down below. I keep my political opinions to myself. I just recognize that these things do exist, okay? Regardless, okay? There was an emotional talk that they had, and Stitch, and this was probably the worst part of the movie. Like, I mean, worse where it's like I actually felt it because I have a big heart for animals, dogs. I hated watching Stitch understanding what he did, and because he now developed attachments, he developed feelings, he developed love, he went back to the animal shelter and just laid there. I hated watching that. I hated it. It was horrible, okay? That's the point where I was like, oh my god. I just... Animals get to me, man. They're some of the most innocent among us, especially dogs. And I know Stitch wasn't a dog, but you get my point. But the next morning, Lilo went out looking for Stitch, and when Nani was going to hand her over to the government, they're like, she's not here. I forgot to mention, too, because I don't know why this is coming to me now, like the neighbors, they were all really funny, too. I enjoyed them because that's the reason Stitch kind of ended up coming out. But one of the aliens ended up disobeying orders, said he was going to capture Stitch himself, so he invaded the home. Again, a little bit unrealistic, of course, with the movie that we're in, but it's pretty lighthearted. I enjoyed all of that where she called... I don't remember exactly what she called him, but Lilo wasn't afraid of the dude at all. And Stitch running away and, like, having the portal gun, all of that type of stuff was really funny. I hated that he destroyed a bunch of belongings and destroyed the entire house. But after exposing Stitch... And by hated it, I mean, like, it got to me in the heart a little bit. By exposing Stitch and saying, you only went to her just because he needed protection. Lilo kind of like, is that true? And Stitch offered himself up. You could look at that and say, well, Stitch does have feelings because now he's feeling ashamed, now he's feeling guilty, and he actually did develop love. He wants Lilo protected, so he's willing to give himself up. So he ended up surrendering, ended up getting taken back onto the ship. But of course, we all know that Lilo was ending up on the ship herself, and I enjoyed all of that too, where he was talking, it's like, I'm going to remove all of the love for you. And Stitch was telling her to press the red button. And he's like, Lilo's kind of like barely hiding under the chair as he's spinning around like, yeah, you're going to be the perfect creation. Again, unrealistic, but still wholesome. And I still enjoyed it. That's why I enjoyed this movie so much. It was just, I laughed, I laid back, I enjoyed Lilo and Stitch, man. But of course, the ship ended up crashing. And in the ocean, Lilo and Stitch were both drowning. Stitch ended up giving himself up because for some reason he was like insanely heavy. Like not even Nani could carry him. And this is the part where I was like, come on, dude. Okay? So it was very heartwarming. We all know that Stitch isn't going to die, but it was still very like, it tore on the heart a little bit. They did a good job with the scene where Stitch was just like, go, save yourself. When they got on the board, idiot girl Nani was like, no, we gotta go. As if like you actually don't have to go. You know how close you are to land right now? You don't have to go at all. And Stitch is just down there like this, watching them just swim away. And it had to take some convincing for Nani to go back for the dog. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Ban her from the ocean, okay? But then all of a sudden, and I'm sorry, okay, my ignorance might be showing here. I have difficulty believing that this is a thing, okay? When Nani came down for Stitch, she couldn't lift him, okay? She started running under the water with him. First of all, longest breath holder of all time, okay? But when I saw that, I was like I did a little laugh to myself in the theater, and my wife was like, no, like, they train to do that. I go, there's no way. There's no way. And again, that might be my ignorance showing, because I don't know much about surfers, I don't know the technique, and I don't even know. My brain says it's not logical, and it's impossible for you to be able to run underwater and not get, like, swept away, especially in the ocean. Could be wrong about that. I just don't think that I am. But if you want to expose me in the comments, feel free to. I thought that was stupid. I thought the fact that Nani didn't want to go back for Stitch was stupid. The fact that it took convincing was stupid. But they ended up bringing him back to life. It was very heartwarming. They needed the car to shock him up. But the movie's not over yet, because then the Grand Councilwoman arrives. The spaceship was cool. And again, the graphics of the spaceship was cool. I know people complained about the CGI with Stitch a little bit, but I thought it was fine. The ship came down. The aliens are looking cool. And the one, at first she was like, oh, absolutely not. That's our property. But you can remain in exile here. All of a sudden, it's like the nicest alien ever. I thought it was a little bit weird. They take back the guy like experimenting with 626, or the guy that created 626. I'm gonna feel really bad if the number's not 626. I'm gonna look stupid, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. They let Lilo and Stitch bond again. Everybody's happy. The alien's gonna stay with them. It's like, you have the supervision, and we're gonna be checking in. And the movie kind of ends there. You know, like Nani goes and ends up being a marine biologist. You know. It's a whole that's a whole another bag of conversation that's not worth really talking about, to be honest with you. Like, the movie was good. It was lighthearted. It was fun. And as somebody who hated Lilo and Stitch growing up, I was very surprised to see this movie, because I didn't want to see this movie. I saw it when I was on a cruise and it was playing. So my wife was like, I want to watch Lilo and Stitch. And I go, all right, I'll eat some popcorn. And then I enjoyed it. We ended up watching Thunderbolts 2, which was great. And we're definitely going to be talking about that. But I enjoyed Lilo and Stitch, and I would love to know what you think about it down below in the comments. Thank you very much for being here. Keeping the same kind of idea with Disney. I also did a review for Inside Out 2 a while ago. You can check that out right here, and I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for being here and watching the video, guys. Take care.